Welcome to our deep dive today. We'll be looking at job searching in the 21st century.
Sounds good.
We're going to be using Fire Your Boss by Stephen M. Pollan and Mark Levine.
Oh, yeah, I read that one.
Yeah, it's a guide to this crazy job market.
It is. And
Yeah.
what's interesting is that idea of mentally firing your boss.
Oh, yeah, that really jumped out at me.
It's a little radical, right?
It is.
But it's about taking control.
So instead of waiting for someone to tell you what to do,
Right.
you're writing your own job description, doing your own performance reviews,
Exactly.
planning your own path.
It's like,
Is that putting the cart before the horse?
not necessarily.
Okay.
It's about knowing what you're worth,
Right.
beyond just the title or salary.
Yeah.
Thinking about the skills you have
Okay.
that you might not even, think about.
Right.
The things you've done, the accomplishments that don't fit on the resume.
Mm-hmm.
And I think most importantly, the kind of work you enjoy doing.
That's huge.
Yeah.
I got so caught up
Yeah.
in climbing that ladder in one industry,
Mm-hmm.
I totally missed other opportunities that might have been better.
And that's what's so interesting about this.
Yeah.
They talk about Jason,
Okay.
client of theirs,
Okay.
who got let go from a job he'd been at forever.
Oh, wow.
And he was lost, right?
Yeah.
But by really digging in, he realized
Yeah.
he had all these skills
Mm-hmm.
that he didn't even realize were valuable.
He didn't even see.
Right.
Wow.
And he ended up in a totally different industry,
Oh, wow.
more fulfilling
Okay.
and better pay.
That's great.
It really is.
That just shows how much we limit ourselves
Yeah, we really do.
by the way we think about ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
That leads into another thing they talk about.
Okay.
Oh, your career, get a job.
I have to admit, when I first saw that title, I was a little
I get it.
in a bath.
It throws you off a bit.
Yeah.
What they're really saying is
No.
we need to ditch these old ideas about careers
Okay.
and think of a job as a way to be financially stable. That doesn't mean you give up ambition,
Right.
but it means you find fulfillment
Okay.
in other parts of your life.
So it's that balance, right?
Yes.
Financial stability.
Yes.
But also pursuing your passions outside of work.
Exactly.
Okay.
Like Liz, for example,
Okay.
recent grad,
Mm-hmm.
wanted to work for a nonprofit,
Okay.
but realized that the pay was so low,
Yeah.
she couldn't do that and live the life she wanted
Yeah, a lot of people run into that.
all the time.
Passion versus practicalities.
Yeah, so she
Yeah.
got a job with better pay
Smart.
and volunteered her free time.
Oh, wow.
The point is,
Yeah.
you can help people and do good
Mm-hmm.
without it being your job title.
I like that.
Yeah,
That's a good way to look at it.
yeah. And,
This job market.
it's tough out there.
It's rough.
Yeah.
They don't sugarcoat it.
They say job security.
Doesn't exist.
That's scary.
It's an illusion.
Wow. We're all hired to be fired at some point.
Yeah. That's
It's harsh.
it's a harsh way to put it, but I guess it's true.
It's true.
Yeah.
And that means we have to always be ready.
So even when you think you're safe,
Always.
you should be prepared for change.
Always.
What does that look like?
It means keeping up with your industry,
Okay.
learning new skills,
Uh-huh.
and constantly job fishing,
So you're always looking.
always exploring, building connections.
So like you're casting a line,
Yeah.
seeing what you can reel in,
Exactly.
even if you're not
Even if you're not,
actively looking for something.
especially then.
So being proactive, not reactive.
Yes, be ready.
And I think that's crucial now.
Yeah.
Because things change so fast.
All the time.
Industries can disappear overnight.
Absolutely. And another thing they talk about is
Okay.
traditional networking.
Okay.
It's not as effective anymore.
Int-
It's not just about business cards at events.
Right.
You need to build relationships.
So it's not just like, I'm going to go to this industry event,
Right.
get a bunch of business cards, and that's
And
it.
it's about genuine connection.
So you're saying like joining a golf club or a theater group.
Could be really helpful.
Mm-hmm. Who knew?
You never know.
Yeah.
They had this client, Fred,
Okay.
who joined all these clubs, got to know people,
Yeah.
and ended up with a job
Really?
in a field he'd never even considered.
Wow.
Sometimes the best connections
Yeah.
come from the most unexpected places.
So it's about that holistic approach.
Yes,
Networking is part of your life,
it's integrated.
not just a separate thing.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. They even say young people should use their second generation social life,
What does that even mean?
tapping into the connections of parents, siblings, older friends.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's a great resource.
Multiply your connections overnight. I wish I'd thought of that when I was starting out.
It's never too late.
True.
And remember,
Yeah.
all this networking, all this job fishing should lead to a job with financial security.
Because at the end of the day,
Right.
you need to pay the bills.
And that's another point they make.
Yeah.
It's the money.
Yeah, because when you're financially stable,
Yeah. Yeah.
then you can pursue those passions,
Exactly.
you know?
Right.
Live a fulfilling life.
And they recommend using a chart.
Oh, wow, a chart.
Yeah, to compare job offers.
Okay.
But not just salary and benefits.
What else?
Location, work-life balance, chances for growth.
So you're not just going with your gut.
Right.
Be objective. You're really thinking it through.
You got to know your priorities.
That's a good point.
And this brings us to
Okay.
their idea of an exit strategy.
Wait, we haven't even started the job yet.
I know, right? And we're already planning to leave.
It sounds weird.
It does.
But think about Bill. Okay. After college, he
Yeah.
got a bookstore job. Okay.
It was fine, but not great.
Yeah.
But he kept job fishing.
While he was working.
Yes, and he found a job
Okay.
at a specialty bookstore.
Okay.
Better pay.
Nice.
More potential for growth.
So it's not about being disloyal.
Yeah.
It's about knowing
Recognizing
that things change.
careers aren't straight lines anymore.
Yeah.
And always be open to new things.
Right.
And remember, hired to be fired
Yeah.
means you always got to be assessing
Okay.
and ready to move on.
When something better comes along.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, it's interesting. They talk about the emotional side of job searching.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, it's a roller coaster ride.
It is. You get your hopes up, then you get rejected.
Uncertainty, the self-doubt.
Especially if you've been out of work for a while.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
that's where that firing your ex-boss thing comes in.
Okay, how do you fire someone who already fired you?
Haha.
Right.
Well,
Seems a little late.
it's more of a mindset thing.
Okay.
It's about realizing your last job doesn't define you. Like letting go of that baggage and focusing on what you really want next.
So you're not a victim.
Right.
You're in control.
Exactly. It could even help with interviews.
Oh, how so?
When you're not carrying all that weight,
Yeah.
you can be more confident,
Okay.
focus on what they need.
Makes sense. You're not trying to justify your past.
Right. It's about what you can do now.
Exactly.
They even talk about how to come across when you're unemployed.
That's a tough one.
It is. You got to be confident, but not arrogant.
Right, not desperate either.
Exactly. It's a balance.
Yeah, how do you do that?
Focus on their needs, not your accomplishments.
So be a problem solver.
Exactly. Show them how you can help them.
That's good advice.
And speaking of practical things,
Yeah.
how do you actually job hunt when you're unemployed?
Oh, man, that's got to be hard.
Motivation is tough when you're not getting paid.
Yeah, you can get discouraged pretty easily.
They say treat it like a full-time job. Set hours for searching, networking, updating your resume,
So make a schedule.
create a routine.
Even though everything feels chaotic.
Yes. And cast a wide net.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. You never know where the opportunity will come from.
True.
And this might seem obvious,
Okay.
but when you're unemployed,
Yeah.
money matters.
Right. You got to be realistic.
Don't let pride get in the way of a paycheck.
Even if it's not your dream job.
Exactly. You can keep looking once you're employed.
Right.
Actually, they say you should always be job fishing.
Always. Even when you have a job.
It's an ongoing thing,
Wow.
a strategy for your whole career.
I like that.
Now, beyond the practical stuff,
Yeah.
there's the emotional side.
Mm-hmm.
Finding fulfillment outside of work.
That's huge.
If you're expecting your job to make you happy,
You'll be disappointed.
most likely.
Yeah.
Remember Jason?
The guy who switched career.
Yes, he was struggling to find a job
Yeah.
that was both financially secure and personally fulfilling.
Yeah, he wanted it all.
He was holding out for something meaningful.
Even if it meant less money.
Right, and we talked about how that can lead to problems.
Yeah.
So we explored ways he could find fulfillment outside of work.
Okay.
Hobbies, volunteering, spending time with family.
So his job could be a means to an end,
Exactly.
allowing him to pursue those passions.
It's interesting how this connects back to killing your career.
Okay.
When you let go of the idea that work has to be your passion,
Mm-hmm.
you open yourself up to more possibilities.
I like that it's like you're letting go of a limiting belief.
Exactly. And that can be really powerful for anyone feeling stuck.
Yeah, for sure. We've covered so much.
We have firing your boss.
The job searching, finding fulfillment outside of work.
It's been a lot.
It has, but there's one more thing.
Oh, yeah.
Changing industries.
The big leap.
A lot of people feel trapped in their industry.
I think it's too late to switch.
Yeah.
But they're wrong.
Really?
Industries have more in common than we think.
How so?
Businesses are businesses.
Okay.
Whether it's software or shoes, they all need finance management marketing.
So it's about transferable skills.
Exactly. And this is where hiring yourself comes in.
Oh.
Write a job description, but focus on the actions.
Like verbs.
Yes, not the industry jargon.
So instead of saying I'm a marketing manager for a software company,
Right.
you'd say I develop marketing campaigns and analyze their effectiveness.
Perfect.
Okay.
That kind of language works anywhere.
Makes sense.
Of course, you still need to learn the specifics of the new industry.
So you're in two worlds at once.
In a way, yeah.
Your current job and your future aspirations.
Exactly. They suggest making a schedule,
Okay.
dedicate time to both,
Balance.
maybe spend a few hours each weekend,
Okay.
researching, networking, tailoring your resume.
So you're meeting your current obligations,
Yeah.
but also working towards your goals.
And they talk about how personal relationships can help with this.
Okay.
They had a client, Jody,
Okay.
who wanted to move from government to the private sector.
That's a big change.
It was, but she talked to people she knew
Okay.
and connected with someone in real estate.
Did she get a job?
Not right away,
Okay.
but it opened up new possibilities.
It's those connections again.
They're so important.
Yeah.
And when it comes to changing industries,
Yeah.
they have an interesting perspective on salary.
Okay.
They say you might have to take a pay cut at first.
Like an investment.
Exactly. But they also say,
Yeah.
don't do it just for psychic rewards.
What does that even mean?
Don't take a lower paying job
Okay.
just because you think it'll be more fulfilling.
It has to make sense financially.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, before we move on,
Okay.
I want to emphasize something.
Okay.
No matter how much you love your job,
Yeah.
always be ready to leave it.
That's hard.
It is.
Especially when you feel settled.
I know, but it's so important.
Okay.
They say, even after you've landed that great job, keep job fishing.
Really?
Be open to even better opportunities.
So you're always growing.
Never get complacent.
Like a shark.
Exactly.
Got to keep moving.
And this applies to young people too.
You mean when they're just starting out?
Yes. They shouldn't just take the first job they get.
Okay.
Be strategic.
Okay.
Use it to learn, build skills, make connections.
So it's a stepping stone.
to something bigger.
And they say, even with that first job,
Yes.
have an exit strategy
Be ready to move on.
for a better opportunity.
More money, more responsibility, more growth.
Keep that momentum going.
Complacency is the enemy.
Wow, we've really dug deep into this book.
We have. It's been fascinating.
It really has. So what are your takeaways?
What's resonating with you?
That's a good question. I think for me, it's that firing your ex-boss thing.
Yeah,
It's powerful, you know?
that is.
You're not defined by your past.
Right.
You can write your own story.
What about you, dear listener?
What will you take away from this? One thing that's been on my mind
Yeah,
is that they don't shy away from the tough stuff.
right. Like the realities of the workplace.
Yeah, they seem to say you gotta play hardball sometimes.
They do talk about being assertive,
Mm-hmm.
but not being unethical.
Okay, so it's not about being a jerk.
No, it's about knowing your worth
Right.
and advocating for yourself.
Because if you don't,
Right.
someone else will.
Exactly. And that goes back to firing your boss,
Okay.
taking control of your career.
So you're not at the mercy of others.
Right. You decide what you're worth.
Don't let them limit you.
Exactly.
I like that.
And this can even help with finding fulfillment outside of work.
So?
When you're not relying on your job for happiness,
Yeah,
you won't put up with a bad situation.
you're free to walk away.
Exactly.
Some people might think that's cynical,
Maybe.
but I think it's empowering.
It is. Once you know the rules of the game,
Yeah.
you can play it strategically.
Create a career that works for you.
Exactly. You're not just following the script.
You're writing your own.
And that brings us back to job fishing.
Right.
Being proactive, adaptable, always looking for opportunities.
Casting your net, seeing what's out there.
And being ready to move.
When the time is right.
Take charge of your career. Navigate this crazy job market with confidence.
Well, I think we've covered it all.
I think so.
Fire your boss.
A lot of great insights.
It really got me thinking.
What about you, listener?
What resonated with you?
What will you do to start job fishing?
It's about taking control.
Shaping your own destiny.
Remember, whether you're looking for a new job,
Or just want to be prepared.
the key is to stay engaged.
Stay informed.
Never stop exploring.
Until next time. Keep those lines in the water.
You never know what you might catch.